Stop apologizing for protecting yourself. Every time you do, your boundary starts sounding like a mistake.
You say, "Sorry, I can't," when all you really mean is, "I have a limit." And some people hear that apology as an invitation to push harder, question more, and guilt you. Before you know it, your boundary turns into another moment where you abandon yourself again. Here is the truth. If you apologize for a boundary, people learn it is negotiable.
Today, we are talking about boundaries without apology. Not cold boundaries, not cruel boundaries, clear ones.
The kind that do not beg to be understood before they are allowed to exist. Because a real boundary is not a request for permission. It is information. It tells people where your limit is, what you accept, and what you will no longer carry. People who respect you will adjust. People who benefited from your guilt may act offended. That offense is not always proof you did something wrong. Sometimes it proves the old pattern is breaking. This is not selfishness. This is self-respect, without turning your needs into an apology. Most people with weak boundaries are not weak. They were trained to be easy. But easy to reach, easy to convince, easy to guilt, easy to pull back into old roles. So when they finally say no, their body reacts like they are doing something dangerous. Their chest tightens. Their voice softens. Their mind searches for reasons to make everyone comfortable. Then comes the apology. "Sorry, I feel bad. Sorry, I hope you understand." But listen carefully. That is not always kindness. Sometimes it is fear wearing polite clothing. Kindness can be clear. Kindness can say no. Kindness can disappoint someone without becoming cruelty.
By the end, you will know 6 ways to set boundaries without shrinking yourself.
First, stop apologizing for having limits. Second, stop explaining your boundary like a courtroom speech.
Third, feel guilt without obeying it. Fourth, let people be disappointed without rushing to rescue them. Fifth, use one clean sentence. Sixth, follow through without drama, speeches, or emotional negotiation. Because the goal is not to make everyone like your boundary. It is to stop betraying yourself. Here is why boundaries fail. They usually fail because the energy behind them is full of guilt. You say no, but your face says, "Please don't hate me for this." You say you are unavailable, but your tone says, "Maybe push harder and I will fold." Then you give 5 reasons, 3 apologies, and proof that you are still a good person. That is the hidden loop. You set the boundary, then immediately try to soften its impact.
You say no. You feel guilty. You apologize. You explain. They find one weak spot. Then they push through that weak spot, and suddenly your limit becomes their negotiation room.
You fold, then resent yourself later. Not because you had no boundary, but because you abandoned it. A boundary with guilt sounds like a question. A boundary with calm sounds like a decision. The first shift is simple. Stop saying sorry for being tired, unavailable, private, or done. You do not need forgiveness for having a body, a schedule, a nervous system, and limits. Instead of, "Sorry, I can't come tonight," say, "I can't make it tonight. That does not work for me."
I'm not available for that. Notice the difference. You are not being harsh. You are removing shame from your limit.
Some people will feel that change immediately because they were used to your nervous tone.
They were used to your apology, making the boundary smaller, softer, and easier to challenge.
When you stop apologizing, the dynamic changes, not because you became mean, but because you became clean. Second, stop over-explaining. Long explanations turn a boundary into a negotiation table. You think explaining more will create understanding, but with some people, it only creates openings. You say, "I can't help this weekend." They ask why, not to understand, but to debate. You say you are tired. They say, "Rest later." You say you are busy. They push again. Now your personal limit has become a courtroom, and you are defending your right to exist.
Stop giving people a map to argue with. Use short sentences and let them stand.
"I'm not available for that. That does not work for me. I'm not discussing this."
People who respect you will not need an essay. People who don't will never be satisfied anyway.
No explanation is enough for someone who benefits from pretending they do not understand you. Third, expect guilt, but do not obey it. This is where the real work begins. When you stop apologizing, guilt may show up fast and loud, like an alarm.
It may whisper, "You are selfish." It may say, "They are upset because you are wrong."
But guilt is not always truth. Sometimes guilt is just old training in your body. If you spent years people-pleasing, your nervous system thinks peace means keeping others comfortable. So when you stop doing that, your body panics. Not because you are unsafe, because it is unfamiliar.
Most people obey guilt. Calm people observe it, breathe through it, and keep their boundary. You can feel guilty and still be right. You can feel uncomfortable and still be safe. You can disappoint someone and still be a good person. That is emotional maturity.
Fourth, let people be disappointed. This is the part most people avoid.
They do not fear setting the boundary. They fear the silence, the cold tone, the reaction.
So they rush to repair everything. They explain more, give more, shrink more, and disappear inside. But you are allowed to make choices other people do not prefer. That is not cruelty. Have you noticed some people only call you kind when you make yourself available? The moment your kindness includes yourself, they call it distance, attitude, or selfishness. Real love may feel disappointed by your boundary, but it will not punish you for having one. Control punishes. Control withdraws warmth. Control makes your self-respect feel like betrayal. Someone's disappointment is not always an emergency. Sometimes it is just the old pattern losing power. Fifth, use one clean sentence. No apology, no insult, no drama, no decoration. One rule. Say the boundary once, calmly, and stop decorating it to make people comfortable. Please don't speak to me that way. I'm leaving if this continues. That does not work for me.
Short sentences work because they carry decision energy, not fear energy.
And yes, some people will try to pull you into explaining more.
They will say, "You changed. You don't care anymore. Why are you acting like this?"
Do not chase every accusation. Say, "I understand you are upset. That still does not work for me."
That sentence is powerful because it acknowledges their feeling without surrendering your limit.
Sixth, follow through without drama. This is where a boundary becomes real. A boundary is not what you announce. It is what you do when the line is crossed.
If they keep yelling after you ask them to stop, your next move matters most.
You do not give another speech. You end the call, leave the room, or stop replying.
I said what I meant. Now I act like I meant it.
This is not punishment. This is alignment. Your actions finally match your words. Some people will respect it. Some will test it. Some will leave. All three teach you something. Let the wrong people be filtered by the standard they refuse to respect. That is not loss.
Boundaries without apology are not about being cold. They are about being honest without collapsing. Stop over-explaining. Feel guilt without obeying it. Let disappointment exist. Use clean sentences. Then follow through calmly. You are not becoming difficult. You are becoming clear. You are finally including yourself in the respect you keep giving everyone else.
Comment CLER if you are learning this. Subscribe for the next video on people who keep crossing boundaries.